It is media poll season, and the Big Ten is stepping up to bat. Man, we're going to take a look at the Big Ten media poll, give you our thoughts on it, places we agree, places we disagree. Now, full transparency, we will give you our predictions for the Big Ten Conference, for specific teams within the Big Ten Conference, for the national championship here very, very soon on our live show. Okay, so make sure you are subscribed right here to the On3 YouTube channel, because this show, The Hard Count, full hour-long episodes for you live in living color on this platform Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern. Also, you can find those hour-long episodes if you can't catch them live. Well, obviously, you can watch them back on demand because this is YouTube, but you can also listen back to them via podcast. So you type in The Hard Count with J.D. Piquel, Apple, Spotify, we got you covered. So appreciate y'all being subscribed. Appreciate y'all rocking with us. Let's get right to this here, right? All right, let's get right to this. Let's get right to it. That's what I'm looking for. All right, so the media poll is as follows: 1 through 18. No surprise, you got Ohio State at 1, Oregon at 2, the Penn State Nittany Lions at 3, Michigan at 4, Iowa at 5, USC at 6, Wisconsin at 7, Nebraska at 8, Rutgers at 9, Washington at 10, Maryland at 11, Minnesota at 12, Illinois at 13, Northwestern coming in at 14, UCLA at 15, Michigan State at 16, Indiana at 17, and Purdue at 18. So that's the poll. No major surprises. I'll say this: I could see Michigan State maybe finishing a bit higher than 16 if Aiden Childs translates the way that I believe they would like him to translate in East Lansing. It's a really talented guy coming over from Oregon State with Jonathan Smith. That number 5 spot is really intriguing. Yeah, Iowa at 5 right now. I could see Wisconsin finishing there. I could see USC finishing there. I could see Nebraska finishing there. Obviously, there's major question marks across those teams that you have to get answered. Nebraska, how does Dylan Raiola play? USC, do they get a defense? Wisconsin, does it all come together with Luke Fickell and co? Like, there's some question marks you have to fill in there. Iowa at 5, though, I don't really have a problem with. Penn State at 3 makes sense given their schedule. We'll talk more about the Nittany Lions here in just a little bit. But to me, the overall thought I have on this poll right now, it's sort of boring, but no real surprises. Pretty chalky. That's the way that a media poll is supposed to look. Everyone kind of is falling into the same thoughts around these teams, and these polls reflect that. So that's the media poll. I want us to talk, though, a little bit about the popular Big Ten championship predictions. Ohio State over Oregon is the most popular prediction out there, followed by Oregon over Ohio State. So the folks love the Buckeyes and the Ducks. The Bucks and the Ducks going after it in Indy. Oregon's first year in the Big Ten. Ohio State over Penn State is the third most popular, followed by Ohio State over Michigan. So Ohio State, if we're keeping score at home, and of course we are, Ohio State is included in each of these championship games. Whether you have them winning it or losing it, they're in the dance. Ohio State is included in each of these, I believe, because of the obvious. They have the highest roster talent in the entire conference. And as we sit here in July, roster talent is pretty much the best indicator we have as to how you're going to be successful when it comes to the upcoming season. Now, the beautiful thing about college football is it is a wacky sport. It is a very bizarre sport. You are dealing with 18 to 22-year-olds that also have to deal with college classes that have a lot less structure. I'll rephrase that. Maybe not less structure. A lot more on your plate than you would if you're playing in the NFL. You have a lot more things you have to juggle. My point being here, with that being your profile of athlete, there's a lot more volatility, I think, with what can happen. But when it comes down to Ohio State's success in 2024, you really are just looking at the hinge point that is Will Howard. Is Will Howard the guy to elevate this roster and take them to the promised land? Sounds like a lot of pressure. It is when you're the quarterback at Ohio State, one of the most, if not the most recognizable brands in the entire sport. They know what they signed up for. Will Howard, the thing that I love about him, I've said it many times, his mobility and his experience. You can call quarterback power. You can call read option on 3rd and 4. Now, will they do that frequently? I don't know, but rest assured, it's in the playbook. You have that. You have that available to you. Also, he can ad-lib for you. I love that. It comes down to Will Howard. The defense is incredible. The running back room is the best in the country. The wide receiver room is probably the best in the country. Like, they're going to be set up for success roster-wise. Can Will Howard elevate them? That's the big question. Now, Oregon is number 2 in this poll right here. I mean, the question with Oregon is how much can they follow the projected trend? Because I think a lot of us looking at Oregon, looking at what Dan Lanning's done there in 2 years and saying, okay, if that's if that's the current trend we're going on right now, if he just gets better and better every year, like, do they take that perceived next step and become a conference title winning team? We'll see. But roster-wise, again, I think they are up there with Ohio State for the best in the conference. The poll reflects that. There's not a ton to break down here with them. There really isn't. It's, do you trust Dylan Gabriel to be the hand-to-glove fit that a lot of us perceive him to be with Will Stein's offense? Shout out Jesse Simonton because he actually used that exact phrasing that we're stealing right now. That's the question. I trust the skill players. I trust the defense. I trust the trenches. Like, it all adds up to, do you trust Dylan Gabriel and do you trust Dan Lanning to get this team to take that next step? Now, Penn State at 3, I told you it makes sense to us. Do they have a better roster than Michigan? I think that's up for debate. I think when you look at Penn State and their path, though, they have the best path, I believe, of anybody to get to Indianapolis. Now, will they do it remains to be seen, but the only game that you look at for Penn State and say, ooh, I don't know about that one. I don't know about that one, is the game against Ohio State. And the good news for the folks in Happy Valley, they have to come to you. You get Ohio State at the crib. No Oregon, no Michigan. It's all lined up here for Penn State with this core nucleus of young talent now going into another year together. Drew Aller, Nick Singleton, Katron Allen, Abdul Carter, to name a few. They're all back for one more go-around. Now, I'm not telling you that all those guys are going pro next year, but I'm telling you some of them will. So this is your window now. Even when they had the 4-team playoff, this was the year that Penn State fans had circled. Can you get it done with this schedule, with this roster? Remains to be seen. Now, if you're Michigan, this is really the fascinating part for me. If you're Michigan and you are the defending national champions and you see this Big Ten media poll and you're picked to finish 4th, not even top 3. Now, I don't pretend to have the best pulse in the world as to every single going-ons in Ann Arbor, Michigan within that building. But if we know anything about Sharon Moore's Michigan, they thrive with that chip on their shoulder. And I mean, it makes sense why they're at 4. They're 128th in the country out of 134 teams in returning production. The media is not sure what to make of all these new characters. But if you're Michigan, you're like, that's all we needed. Like Michael Jordan. At that point, it became personal. That was all I needed. How does that factor in? We'll see. But I'll say this again. Just because we don't know every single potential / future star player's name for Michigan in 2024 does not mean there's not a lot of dudes on this roster that have been waiting their turn, been working in the shadows, and are going to make a big splash in 2024. We credit Jim Harbaugh so much for his development of this roster from when he was there. A lot of those guys are still on that roster. Just because they weren't starters last year doesn't mean they aren't ready for their moment. So overall, what's our take on this championship prediction? We'll give it to you soon. But make sure you're locked in here because we're in this mode right now, okay? This is media poll season. Prediction season is like on the doorstep. Make sure you're locked in here. Don't miss a minute of it. Also, let me know how you feel like the media did in relation to this poll within the Big Ten Conference. Excited to hear from y'all. Live on the air tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday for you. If you don't catch it live, again, catch it on podcast. You type in The Hard Count with J.D. Pickell, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get them, you can find us there. Hey, we love y'all. We appreciate y'all. It's about that time. We're going to keep this party rolling, and we will see y'all next time. Hey, y'all. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.